My client was a 34-year-old female with 2 children with a TBI. She was at an inpatient neuro rehab unit, and she lived in Detroit, and she had just moved into a new home. Her initials were TY, and she was really excited to get started with treatment. My client's main goal out of therapy was that she wanted to be able to cook safely for her children again. The results of my PICO question were that meal preparation is a good intervention for TBI patients to get back to living independently. Throughout my literature review, I found a lot of resources that supported the idea that meal preparation was a good way to figure out if someone with a TBI could live independently, and it was also a good way to work on memory, staying focused on a task, as well. It was very meaningful and occupation-based. So I chose this kit because my client had stated that she really wanted to be able to cook for her children again, but we had recognized that she had a lot of issues with safety awareness, such as leaving the stove on, or a lot of issues with paying attention, staying on task in memory, not realizing what she was doing or remembering what the task was. So I decided to break it down into something simpler where she could stay on task and it was something more meaningful to her. So this is going to be the first page. It's the recipe master. So everything inside of it is laminated. So what we're going to do is the client would go to the first page, which is going to be the main directions. We're going to forego that for sake of time. So this would be the main page that the client would see. This is actually the page that they're going to put everything on. So they have their ingredients, their utensils, and then where they would write in their instructions. So basing off of that, so if we want, what the client is they're going to tell me what it is that they are familiar with baking or something that they want to bake that they know the ingredients, utensils, and instructions for genuinely. So I would ask the client, what is something that you would like to bake today?
A cake.
A cake. Okay, perfect. I love cake. So what we would do is I would instruct the client to first find all the ingredients that would be needed for them to make a cake. So we would flip the page, and each ingredient is organized by where you would find it in a real kitchen. So such as right here, we have the pantry, and then we have all the most common ingredients are all Velcroed, so they can be taken off and put into the ingredient section. So for example, I would have them find something that would be in a cake. So, okay, so he picked white sugar. So if we were making it by scratch. So then they would go back to the first page and they would put that into the ingredients. So we would have white sugar and so forth. So we're just gonna forego the rest of the ingredients just for the sake of time, but they're all organized by section. And then next, we are going to look at, these are all Velcro, so the Velcro's a little sticky, but these are going to be all the utensils that would be needed for them to do the task. So I would have the individual pick out all the utensils that they would need to complete the task. And this is all based off of evidence practice that breaking down the task in meal preparation, it's a lot easier for TBI patients when it's broken down into something meaningful, so a recipe that he or she would want to make, as well as something easier, so I have everything labeled and pictured, so it's something that they're doing with their hands. They're not just writing it. So it's Velcro, putting it down, something they can remember the order. So say just one example, so we're gonna have a cutlery, so that they would need that to do it. So then you would go all the way back to the first page, and you would put that right into the utensil section, so forth. We would fill that up with what they needed, and then the final step would be them writing down their instructions for the food or the thing that they were making, and the OT would be working with them, watching them doing this, but it's also something they would stay focused on, and it's something they can see and use if they were to go to the next step of making this. So when I implemented this with Ty earlier, when we did the full thing, we didn't really have to make many modifications. The pages did stick together a little bit. Overall, it was a really fun project to make. There was a lot of Velcro involved, so that was the only not fun part. But overall, I think it worked really good with the client, and I think it's something that's really good for especially a TBI patient to break down the task.